Good morning, Knicks Nation. I'm still here in hot Phoenix, Arizona. Had a good day yesterday with my mother and my son. I'm glad to report, and we'll be more on that later. But here we are, and I am very intrigued by the Dallas Mavericks. The reason is okay. Let me first say this because I got a number of comments that appear to either misunderstand or not listen to what I was saying yesterday. I understand that every team is allowed three two-way contracts. I understand it. Aside from the three two-way contracts that Dallas already has, they have 18 players under contract. 18. Now, I don't know what Masai Ujiri is doing. I mentioned this yesterday. He is a smart man. He has shown it. He has proven it. But I don't understand matching on Cisse. I don't understand it. He has 6 players that play the 5 under contract. 6. That's not including the 3 two-way guys. Understand that. There is no team in the NBA that is serious about winning that will keep 5 centers or 6 centers under contract. There is no team in the NBA that's going to do that. So you might have 3, okay, like the Knicks had last year. The Knicks actually had Karl-Anthony Towns, they had Mitchell Robinson, they had Ariel Hooparty, and then they had Trey Jemison, who was a two-way. But in terms of just regular rosters, not including two-ways, they had 3. And they won the chip. And that's not unusual. No team can have 6 guys under contract that play the same position, especially at center. It doesn't make any sense. Okay? So I'm wanting to see what Ujiri's going to do here because it's interesting. I want to see what he does with all of these centers. And he's not the only one. As I mentioned, Charlotte is in a very similar position. Very similar. And Charlotte just drafted a young center, Steinbach. Okay? So if you've watched Charlotte, the best guy to play the 5 for them was Moussa Diabate. That was the best guy. Okay? And he wasn't a lottery pick, but he turns out to be the best guy with the motor, the defense, the rebounding, the whole thing. So you got a bunch of guys you drafted at the 5, and you got him. So let's assume they're going to keep him. Let's assume they're going to keep the guy they just drafted in the lottery. They just drafted him this year, Steinbach. Kirk Brenner was just drafted a couple years ago. So I don't understand what these teams are doing. But what I am saying here is all of the speculation about the Knicks, and y'all keep throwing out names out of the damn nowhere, out of your behind, you don't need to do that. There are going to be guys available, not the trade deadline, when they start having to pay them. Before the trade deadline. When teams have to start paying people on guaranteeing contracts, you're going to have some people out here, okay? And like I mentioned, I look back at New Orleans. Now, New Orleans is pretty well set because they had Herb Jones starting at the 5 last year, which is ridiculous. Herb Jones is 6'7". He's really a 3, but he could because of his defensive prowess, he could guard multiple positions, obviously. But they got Missy, they got Derek Queen, they signed an old DeAndre Jordan as a guide for those guys. They are covered. Okay, they're not overly represented at the 5 spot. Derek Queen and Misi are going to take over that role, okay? So I don't think Herb Jones is long to start at the 5 for them, but the fact that they have him in the lineup is why a lot of teams are inquiring about him. He's a very valuable winning championship piece because of his defense, and he can shoot good enough now in the league to be a valuable asset as a role player for somebody. So that's why you have a lot of teams inquiring about Herb Jones, which turned into a lot of people saying he's going to be traded. I don't know, but just inquiring doesn't mean anything. So New Orleans, you're not going to get Misi. But you still have a bunch of teams. I just named Dallas and Hornets because they have the best prospects for our third string center or even a backup center, depending on the guy. And then you still got Atlanta too. Londale is their guy at the 5. But they got at least 4 other guys. And Londale's their backup. Okongwu is their 5, who's technically a 4. But he plays the 5. And you still got a Gaye, you still got a bunch of Koloko, you still got a bunch of guys that's under contract. They're not going to be able to keep them all. So what we as Knicks fans need to do is let the Don do his thing. And believe me, if I'm telling you, it's already known in the inner sanctum. They already know. So they're monitoring all of these guys. They're talking to agents. And they're waiting to see what happens because Ujiri's got to make a decision. The Charlotte president of basketball operations got to make a decision with Charles Lee. Atlanta's got to make a decision. They got decisions to make. The 5 spot is the biggest need for the Knicks, and we're talking about third string 5 on a championship team. And it just happened to be an abundance of 5s that could be available. So we really, I don't even think the Knicks need to worry about making a trade. They just need to see what shakes loose from the tree. Okay, and something is. That's why I don't understand the Cisse move by Dallas. I don't get it, except obviously I'm not saying we all, but a lot of us understand that Ujiri has beef with the Knicks. And just for spite, he would do that. But he still has to make a move. Daniel Gafford, they can want him to be traded, but they just signed him to 3 years, $54 million guaranteed. See, you can, like with the Don, you got some non-guaranteed money on a lot of these contracts. Not this guy. Gafford is really, if you watched his career, he's a nice backup 5. He's not a starting championship 5, but he is a solid backup 5. Like he could play backup 5 for the Knicks. He could do that, but not at $54 million. So to me, they're not going to be able to get a viable trade. People keep saying somebody stated as if they knew, which a lot of what y'all do, which is crazy, but he's going to be traded. Traded to where? What team do you know that would pay $54 million for a backup 5? Because he's not a starting 5 guy. He ain't winning no championship. For Dallas, the guy that showed he's a championship 5 is Derek Lively. Now, he was hurt last year. I don't think he's going to be hurt this year. They're not saying that. So if he's back, he's the guy at the 5 for them. And then they got a bunch of other guys. But see, you got a choice with Gafford. It really comes down to you can waive and stretch him, or as I mentioned, trade him. But there's going to be, everybody in the league there's no takers for $54 million as your backup 5. Mitchell Robinson, don't throw him out your behind because I already know he's Mitchell Robinson. He got a chip. He is the best offensive rebounder in basketball. So yes, you're going to pay close to 50 for him coming off your bench, but he's the exception. Would you pay, come on, take the OE out of your head, put down the crack pipe, think about it. You're going to pay $54 million for your backup 5? You see what I'm saying? They're paying Drummond, who might be our backup 5. I don't think he's going to be. I think Drummond will end up being our third string. I think there's going to come a nut. Somebody's going to come loose, and the Don's going to scoop him up. But Drummond is getting them NBA minimum. Okay? So I don't know, and Naz Reid was a backup 5 in Minnesota. He got paid. But then again, Naz Reid is not there anymore, and he's going to be starting for Charlotte. He's not going to be a backup. Okay? So he's getting big money, but he's going to be a starter. So I'm trying to find out. And if you know somebody, let me know if you got an idea. Because I don't see anybody in the 30 teams in the NBA that's going to pay $54 million. So now he just come off 17. You still got $34 million guaranteed you got to pay him. And so who's going to pay $17 million a year for a backup 5? I don't know. I wouldn't. And I know damn sure the Don's not. He's not. So somebody's got to shake loose. There's 6 centers in Dallas. There's 5 centers in Charlotte. There's 4 or 5 in Atlanta. And that was just my first glance at them 3. Okay? And all of them teams got somebody that could at least play the 3rd string. Okay? Everybody does. All of them do. Kirk Brenner, Musa D, we know about them, but there's other guys. This guy Taliun, they just drafted him 2024 6th pick. What are they going to do with him? I don't know. They got to do something. Okay? In Atlanta, you got Gaye, Coloco. What you going to do? See? So, and these teams I'm mentioning, the reason I'm mentioning them is all of them are trying to make moves to move up in the playoff, to move up in the rankings, to be contenders. Atlanta is really inspired by taking the Knicks 6 games, and then they got C.J. McCollum, who's now their answer as the go-to guy. And then Charlotte made a push at the end of last year, took advantage of a reasonably healthy year from LaMelo Ball and moved him, and got Naz Reid and got another number 1 Steinbach. They're trying to move. They're trying to go and accelerate their development. Dallas too. Did the stupidest trade in the history of basketball in trading Luka Doncic, in my opinion. The stupidest trade in the history of basketball. Then they got Anthony Davis, who's now a Washington Wizard, and I don't even know if he wants to be. But he's obviously a part-time player. That's what he's proven. He's not available. So Dallas now is rebuilding, but they're trying to accelerate it. They got Kyrie Irving, who's past his prime, but is still a high level player in the NBA. And they're paying him $39 million this year. So they got to build around him. They got enough centers to do that, but they can't afford to be holding 6 centers. So I guess what I'm saying is something's going to break loose. It might be Cisse. It may be somebody else. But between Cisse on Dallas, Coloco, I like him on Atlanta. You got several guys, and we know about Diabate. I don't think they're going to let Diabate go because of all the 6 centers they got. He's the best. So you're going to, I don't think they're going to let him go. He's too cheap and too valuable. You don't let go of high-valued players that are cheap in the NBA. That is why all of the talk about trading Deuce is utterly ridiculous. You don't do that. You try to let go of a $54 million guy, when you got 5 other guys that are cheaper. You try to do that, which is hard to do. That's why Dallas is in a position. They got Aldama, who's a baller from Memphis. I don't know what they're going to do, but see, you don't let go of guys like Diabate or Deuce, who you're paying way below market and are in your rotation or starting in Diabate's case. You're not letting that go, okay? So forget him. But they got other guys, okay? And all of them are valuable. Either they're top picks, lottery picks, or they're getting good money. Dallas too. So they got to make a decision. All we got to do is sit back, because when it's time to actually write checks, you're going to see moves made. That's what it comes down to. Money talks, BS walks. You're going to see what's going to happen when it's time to write checks. See, this is where 2 ways president of basketball operations lose their positions. When they pick bad rosters and they pay too much money out. Okay? That's how you lose your position as president. Look at the Don. Everything is cheap. He's got a whole bunch of second-round picks that then turned into rotation players. Okay? He just won a chip. And he still has the starting 5 under the second apron. That's brilliant. Not everybody's like that. But that's how you keep your president of basketball operating job. And if he was to be available, all 29 teams will be trying to get him in their front office. Okay? But the Knicks got him. So now, but if you're Masai Ujiri, or if you're in the front office of a Charlotte or Atlanta or somebody similar, you can't be overpaying for extra guys that you really can't use. So I'm not giving up hope on Cisse, because Masai going to have to swallow his pride. He really going to. Somebody got to go. And he's going to have to offer too many picks. See, somebody will take Gafford if you offer them number one picks, to go with it. Gafford ain't no guy that you want for no damn number one pick. Maybe second rounders, but then whoever takes him has got to pay that $34 million left on his contract. Okay? So good luck with that. So all we got to do, the Knicks, all they got to do, I don't want to say we because I ain't making these decisions, but all they got to do, sit back and watch. Somebody going to get loose. And he could pounce. And guess what? I'm going to tell you what. He's already got an idea who's going to get loose. They're already talking to people. Okay? So when somebody loose, you're going to hear a signing pretty quick. Okay? Before camp. When it's time to pay people, that's when you're going to see it. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. If you're down here in Phoenix, some of you said you was, stay cool, man, because it is hot. It is hot down here. The thing is that it's different in Phoenix than like Florida. In Florida, it's so humid. Like the air is thick. Because the air is thick with the humidity because there's a lot of water down there. And here, we're in the middle of the desert. Ain't nothing but dirt and sand out here. And so it's hot like an oven. You could breathe though, but you do feel that heat. Yesterday was 107 down here, man. My mother said, I thought you would like it. I said, nah. I said, nah. Not at all. So my son said the same thing. Dad, I thought you like it. I like it here. I said, man, I'm glad you like it, son. I need a little bit more green than just piles of dirt in 107 degrees. No offense to all y'all that's from Phoenix. No offense. It's like speaking negative of Brooklyn. Anybody born in Brooklyn are going to be most likely to love Brooklyn. But if you're not from Brooklyn and you go to Brooklyn, you might look at it a little different. See, I got cousins and aunts from Brooklyn. They love Brooklyn. They'll really go at you if you start talking about Brooklyn. But if you're not from Brooklyn, like I'm not from Brooklyn. I'm from Long Island. Brooklyn's a whole different world from Long Island, especially when I grew up. But I appreciate Brooklyn because I like cities. And to me, New York City is the greatest city in the world. So I love city, always love the city. And so I appreciate Brooklyn. I appreciate the vibe, the culture. I love it. But there's some other things, right? So it's like that here in Phoenix. If you born and raised in Phoenix, okay, maybe you like it. Maybe you like to see all that tumbleweed and all that mess, but I wasn't like that. So that ain't me. So anyway, enjoy your Tuesday. Shalom.